Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. So, here is the Never Too Late to Judge, to Think, to Discover New Things channel. Before we start, guys, I wanna thank you for your interaction with my last video about racism, and today's video it's about a social problem that it's not less important than racism. It is the violence issue. As usual, guys, now put in your headphones, zoom in the screen, and are you ready? Let's get started. So, in any topic, it's really necessary to start with the definition. So, what is violence issue? So, it is an extreme form of aggression such as assault, rape, or murder. Violence is an act of physical force that causes or is intended to cause harm. The damage inflicted by violence may be physical, psychological, or both. Violence may be distinguished from aggression, a more general type of hostile behavior that may be physical, verbal, or passive in nature. So it is a relatively common type of human behavior that occurs throughout the world. People of any age may be violent, although other older adolescents and young adults are most likely to engage in violent behavior. Violence has a number of negative effects on those who witness or experience it, and children are especially susceptible to its harm. Fortunately, various programs have been successful at preventing and reducing violence. Now, guys, we move to the types of violence. Violence can be categorized in a number of ways. Violent crimes are typically divided into four main categories based on the nature of the behavior. So we have homicide, the killing of one human being by another, sometimes for legally justifiable reasons. Also, assault, physically attacking another person with the intent to cause harm. Also, we have robbery. It's forcibly taking something from another person. And lastly, we have rape. Forcible sexual intercourse with another person. Other forms of violence overlap with these categories, such as child sexual abuse, engaging in sexual acts with a child, and domestic violence. So it's mean that violent behavior between relatives, usually spouses. So violence can also be categorized according to its motivation. Reactive or emotional violence typically involves the expression of anger, a hostile desire to hurt someone that arises in response to a perceived provocation. So, proactive or instrumental violence is more calculated and is often performed in anticipation of some reward. The American psychologist Kenneth Judge found that those two types of violence involve distinct physiological states. A person engaging in reactive violence experiences increased autonomic nervous system arousal. So EA, increased heart rate and breathing and sweating. So whereas a person committing an act of proactive aggression experiences low autonomic arousal. So another method of categorizing violent behavior involves distinguishing between predatory and effective violence. So predatory violence involves planned acts of hostile force. Effective violence is more impulsive and unplanned. Other types of violence have been suggested, including irritable violence motivated by frustration and territorial violence. So, motivated by intrusion into one's perceived territory or space. Now, guys, it's the time for the causes of violence. So, I found that one point that all researchers seem to agree on is that violence is multi-causal, meaning that no single factor is responsible for violent behavior directly. Instead, violence results from a combination of factors, including those originating in the violent person's social or cultural environment, and those representing immediate situational forces. So, researchers have examined multiple factors within a person that may contribute to violence, including genetic predisposition, neurochemical abnormalities, or so high testosterone levels, personality characteristics, information processing deficits, so and the experience of abuse or neglect as a child. Now, the most important part is the effects of violence. So, regardless of its cause, violence has a negative impact on those who experience or witness it. So, violence can cause physical injury as well as psychological harm. So, several psychological disorders, including some scientific names, but or they list some illnesses or mental illnesses specifically. So, we have post traumatic stress disorder, dissociative identity disorder, and borderline personality disorder are too long. So, are associated with experiencing or witnessing violence. Other psychological symptoms such as depression, anxiety, and mood swings. So it's mean that say bipolar or bipolar disorder are common in victims of violence. Children see to or seem to be particularly susceptible to the negative effects of violence. Those who experience or witness violence may develop a variety of problems, including anxiety, depression, insecurity, anger, poor anger management, poor social skills, pathological lying, manipulative behavior, impulsiveness, and lack of empathy. As such examples show, some children may respond to violence in internalizing ways, such as by developing feelings of insecurity, anxiety, and depression, whereas others may react in externalizing ways, such as by feeling angry and behaving in an antisocial manner. Although some of the effects of violence may manifest themselves during childhood, others may not appear until adulthood. For example, abused girls are more likely than non-abused girls to have substance abuse problems as adults. So, moreover, exposure to violence can increase violent behavior in children. The American psychologist Albert Bandura showed that children often imitate violent behaviors, especially if those acts are committed by trusted adults. And the dangerous one is children also imitate violence shown on television and in other forms of media. Those exposed to greater amounts of media violence are more likely than other children to become violent adults. So, this is particularly true if the child identifies with the violent characters and if the child believes that media violence represents reality. For the solutions of violence, I don't wanna speak like others to really make or give you some theory solutions, or as a state or as a country or as an institution. So I wanna tell you or give you, maybe send a message to you that you can act by your own self. So we can do things to make difference, to really defend or to stop violence by our own way. So as I say, is we can stop violence by our own self, because we are who really created this issue, this human behavior issue, by our own self. So we have to stop it by our own self. So we are the problem and we are the solution at the same time. Also, I want you guys to recognize and figure out that maybe the violence is not, but our imaginations first about violence. It is a sexual thing, maybe physical thing, but it's really can be something, a word that can hurt you, that can change your mood, that can really damage maybe your life. So we have to really recognize the definition of violence. We have to really correct this picture, this photo about it. It is really everything that can be hurted you, as physical or mental, maybe mental things. So as I say, you have to really recognize this. So this is the really first step that you can do to really protect others from violence. So to really correct your imagination about it, to really recognize that, or to really stop it in yourself. Don't be violent, or don't be a violent person. So it is the advantages that you can add to your community, to your society. Moreover, you have to educate yourself, because ignorance and illiteracy sometimes make people use violence, and that shows their weak personality, that they can't deal with their problems, anger, they can't manage themselves. So violence, it's in it, and wasn't a big or a right solution for dealing with problems. So to use violence really means you are weak. And now we will finish the video with a good example for non-violent person. He is the Mahatma Gandhi. So he was born on 2 October 1869 and died on 30 January 1948. So he was an Indian lawyer, anti-colonial nationalist, and political ethicist who employed nonviolent resistance to lead the successful campaign for India's independence from British rule, and to later inspire movements for civil rights and freedom across the world. The honorific Mahatma, which means great soul venerable, first applied to him in 1914 in South Africa and now used throughout the world. So that was all, beautiful people, for this video. Hope you enjoy it, and thank you for watching. So don't forget to hit that subscribe and like, and leave a beautiful comment like you. See you soon, and in the next video.